Thousands of pro-EU protesters blocked streets in the Tbilisi, the capital of Georgia, in response to the country's announcement that it has postponed its bid to join the European Union. The government also says it will refuse any budgetary grant from the European Union until the end of 2028. This comes after European legislators called for last month's parliamentary elections in Georgia to be rerun, citing significant irregularities. But protesters believe the action is a bad moment in Georgia's history.
We are angry. This anger was, I don't know, it was gathering between the people, and now it's the day. Today they decided to end our history, everything what we have achieved for past 30 years, and not only they, for past maybe 100 years. They just decided to end everything today, and we will not let them do it. I don't know. We will not take it anymore. Today it should be decided, like who we are, who we were, and where we are going.
I'm very devastated, and I think that I can speak for all of the people that are here and not here as well, because we were not expecting the things to go so soon, and for the government to make the statements that they did today. Of course, we knew that they were anti-European, and all their statements prior to today were very clear about that, but I think that today was the important day because they clearly stated that they don't want to have any connection with the European Union, and also they said no and refused all of the fundings from the European Union. And I think that this makes us feel very hopeless, but at the same time I think that we're becoming stronger because of that.
And more politics in Europe. Voters in Ireland have headed to the polls for the country's general elections. They will be able to cast their ballots until 10 p.m. local time to choose representatives for Ireland's parliament. The next parliament is to go up from 160 members to 174. Election candidates include representatives from the three main parties, outgoing coalition partners Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael, and the leading opposition party Sinn Féin. Vote counting is expected to start on Saturday and may continue into next week.
Election day is here. It is a really important day in our country. We have one of the longest, most enduring democracies in the world. We're seeing well over 600, I think around 650 candidates running for a Dáil Éireann right across the political spectrum. I want to wish everybody who's had the courage to put their name on a ballot the very best of luck today. And I encourage the Irish people, the length and breadth of this country, to come out and vote. Use your voice, use your vote. This is about the future of our country and the direction for the next 5 years. And of course, I hope you vote Fine Gael too.
And in the UK, British Transport Minister has resigned after news emerged that she had been convicted of a fraud offence. Her resignation comes after she pleaded guilty years ago to an offence in connection with misleading police over a work mobile phone in another blow to Prime Minister Keir Starmer. She said in a letter to the Prime Minister that she had told police she had lost the device during a terrifying mugging on a night out in 2013, only to discover later that the phone was still at her home. In her resignation letter shared by Mr. Starmer's office, she said that she was standing down as the issue will inevitably be a distraction from delivering on the work of the government and the policies to which we are committed. In the meantime, British MPs have voted in favour of a bill aiming to legalise assisted dying in England and Wales. Members of Parliament voted 330 in favour of the bill and 275 against. Under the bill, mentally competent, terminally ill adults in England and Wales who are assessed by doctors to have 6 months or less left to live will be allowed the right to choose to end their lives with medical help. Those in favor of the bill say it's about shortening the death of those who are terminally ill and giving them more control over their lives.
Order! Order.
The ayes to the right, 330. The noes to the left, 275.
The ayes to the right, 330. The noes to the left, 275. The ayes have it, the ayes have it. And look! Kimla Beecher will now move the second reading. I call Kimla Beecher.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And thank you to everyone who is attending this.
Earlier, before the vote at the debate session, Labour lawmaker Kim Leadbeater said that the debate was long overdue, indicating lawmakers have the right to address complex issues and make difficult decisions.
And I understand the point that she makes about the death. If a relative claims coercion of another relative,
It is a privilege to open the debate on the terminally ill adults end-of-life bill, a piece of legislation which would give dying people, under very stringent criteria, choice, autonomy and dignity at the end of their lives. It is our job to address complex issues and make difficult decisions. And I know for many people this is a very difficult decision. But our job is also to address the issues that matter to people. And after nearly a decade since this subject was debated on the floor of the House, many would say this debate is long overdue. And I want to pay a huge and heartfelt tribute to those families and to every single person who has contacted me about this issue, and in many cases shared their own very personal stories of loss and death. I know from my own personal experience of grief that telling your story over and over again takes energy, courage and strength. And I'm incredibly grateful to you all. It is your voices and your stories which have inspired me. I've always been keen to ensure that my politics stays rooted in the world beyond Westminster. And it's clear that public opinion is very much in favour of a change in the law. Polling shows consistently that around 75% of people would like to see the legalisation of assisted dying for terminally ill, mentally competent adults. These findings are significant, but it may not be that surprising that most people believe, as I do, that we should all have the right to make the choices and decisions we want about our own bodies. And let's be clear, we are not talking about a choice between life or death. We are talking about giving dying people a choice of how to die.
For more parliamentary matters, it's bye-bye to social media for children under the age of 16 in Australia after the country's parliament passed a bill to approve the ban. The social media ban for children was approved after an emotive debate that has gripped the nation, setting a benchmark for jurisdictions around the world with one of the toughest regulations targeting big tech. Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese, who lauded the move, said the outcome will create less harm for young Australians.
And today, as a direct result of our legislation passed through the Parliament yesterday, through the Senate and confirmed in the House today, parents can have a different discussion with their young ones, a different discussion that will result in better outcomes and less harm for young Australians. Platforms now have a social responsibility to ensure the safety of our kids is a priority for them. We're making sure that mums and dads can have that different conversation today and in future days. We've got your back is our message to Australian parents. We are very clearly sending a message about our intentions here, and what's more, the whole of the Parliament is sending that message, overwhelmingly supported. And this is something that tomorrow, on the sidelines of sporting events, whether it be netball or cricket season at the moment, or tennis or whatever, little athletics, mums and dads will be talking about this, and they'll be talking about it when they pick up their young ones from school this afternoon and hopefully this morning dropping them off as well. This has been an issue that is raised with me more or at least as much as any other issue by people when I'm out and about. So we have ensured as well with the legislation that things which are open for education will still be available. People will still be able to communicate with each other.
French President Emmanuel Macron and First Lady Brigitte Macron have visited Paris' Notre-Dame Cathedral to tour the fire-ravaged landmark that has undergone more than 5 years of reconstruction work before it reopens to the public next week. In a speech, the French president says that the building's official reopening on December 7 will be a shock of hope. He also expresses gratitude for the solidarity shown worldwide and by donors after the cathedral's €700 million renovation. On the evening of April 15, 2019, the cathedral's roof burst into flames. Soon the fire engulfed the spire and almost toppled the main bell towers. The roof collapsed, but the bell towers and facade held. It remains unclear what exactly caused the fire. However, French authorities have said an electrical fault or a burning cigarette may have been responsible. And for the first time, France is acknowledging its killing of hundreds of West African soldiers in 1944 as a massacre. French President Emmanuel Macron made the submission in a letter addressed to Senegalese authorities just days before the 80th anniversary of World War II killings in a fishing village on the outskirts of the Senegalese capital back in 1944. Senegal's President Bassirou Diomaye Faye made the announcement on state TV, hailing the acknowledgement, calling it a great step taken by the French leader, but also adds that he is considering demanding an apology from France officially. President Faye also asked that France close its military bases in the country because leaving them operational would be incompatible with national sovereignty. On December 1, 1944, French soldiers killed between 35 and 400 West African soldiers who fought for the French army in 1940 after what was described as a mutiny over unpaid wages. The atrocity has long been a bone of contention between Paris and Dakar. And the General Counsel of the World Trade Organization has reappointed Nigeria's Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala as Director General for a second four-year term set to begin on September 1, 2025. The Council says the consensus decision to reappoint her reflects broad recognition of her exceptional leadership and strategic vision for the future of the WTO, while acknowledging the trust and support of the WTO General Council and its 166 members. Dr. Okonjo-Iweala recognized the vital role the WTO plays in helping members navigate pressing global challenges despite unprecedented levels of uncertainty and rapid economic shifts. The WTO DG says that she remains firmly committed to delivering results that ultimately improve the lives of people around the world.
So that is what I'd like to say. Thank you for that honor, and let's get to work.
Up to questions. Jamie, AP, please state your name and your organization, please.
Hello, thank you. It's Jamie from Associated Press. Nice to see you again. I don't know if you can hear me.
And Germany's seen a dramatic increase in fatal diseases like measles and hepatitis B. That despite easily accessible vaccines, the country's top disease control center is now sounding the alarm. For more, we're joined by our DW correspondent, Cassandra Sundit in Berlin. Cassandra, great to see you again today. How big of an increase are we talking about here?
There's been a big jump, particularly in measles. The country's top disease control center has even gone as far as saying, quote, measles have come back to Germany. And looking at the numbers, 3 years ago, we saw just 8 cases here in Germany of measles. This year so far, there's been 614 cases. This is all very dangerous. After all, measles is an airborne disease that causes rashes and high fevers in most cases. Infection is extremely dangerous for small children and claimed 107,000 lives globally in 2023. But it's not just measles that are rising, but also other vaccine-preventable illnesses like hepatitis B and whooping cough. Those are also on the rise.
And what are the reasons behind this rapid increase? What have the investigations shown so far?
This is complex and multifaceted. Part of it is vaccine skepticism, but it's been on the rise in Germany for a little while now. But these views are still in the minority here, rising by just a few percentage points over the last few years. A recent survey found that this year, 25% of adults here in Germany are skeptical of vaccines. Then there is, of course, voluntary travel. At least 15% of measles cases were connected to infected travelers, according to the top disease control center here in Germany. Now, both skepticism and increased travel have been factors in this post-COVID-19 world that many of us are living in now. Another factor has been the war and conflict around the world. One doctor from Western Germany told media outlets that children from war zones are not only dealing with the trauma of that and resettlement here, but maybe they weren't vaccinated in their previous homelands while conflict was heating up, or it's possible violence and their flight from violence interrupted that schedule. Then when families and children arrive in Germany, they might also not know about the necessity of a particular vaccine. I should add that this isn't just a Germany problem, but actually a worldwide issue. For example, the vaccination rate for measles is 83% worldwide, according to the WHO, but at least 95% in a given country is needed to fully vaccinate against the disease.
And what's being done to help combat misinformation or vaccine hesitancy in Germany?
There's some previous actions that can be used as a model here. For example, since 2020, parents in Germany are legally required to get their children the 2 jabs needed for measles immunity. If not, they have to pay a fine of 2,500 euros or over 4 million naira. That's in addition to compulsory vaccination in German schools and daycares. Doctors have said to Deutsche Welle that there is a difference between what they call vaccine hesitant and the so-called anti-vaccine movement. One doctor said that typically explanations, statistics, and even just a brief conversation can help allay the fears of the skeptical. But with hardcore vaccine opponents, it's much more difficult as they live, quote, in their own bubble. Nevertheless, that same doctor called on politicians and doctors' groups to help solve the problem with sustained information campaigns.
Right, Cassandra, thank you for your time. Let's move on. Education is often described as the foundation for personal growth and societal development. Yet for millions of children here in Nigeria, this foundation remains out of reach, with over 18 million of them out of school. That's a narrative the Out of School Children's Summit seeks to rewrite by proposing tech-based solutions. Here's more in this next report.
According to the United Nations Children's Fund, 18.5 million children in Nigeria are out of school. Their potential remains untapped and their future uncertain. For many of these children, the streets have become their classrooms. But that's a narrative the Out of School Children's Summit 2024 is working to change.
At the moment, UNESCO puts the figure at 18.3 million. Someone tells me the population of Nigeria is over 200 million. You do the maths. 18.3 million over 200 million citizens. Over 10% of your future workforce are on the streets, roaming around. This subject matter is a very, very, very serious issue. It's a burning platform, and the government of the day needs to pay attention to this matter.
With the theme, Street to School, a tech-based solution, speakers discuss how technology can bridge the education gap and ensure no child is left behind.
It's not the children now. We now have to look at the whole system. It's got to be a holistic solution. Their teachers, are they trained? Do they even know how to use the computer themselves? Can they help children? Can they teach online? Many teachers do not know how to teach to an empty classroom.
Yeah.
So how to assess that children are learners. So it's a very, we have to take a very nuanced, multi-dimensional, multi-stakeholder, more holistic solution.
Some leaders in the States will say, oh, I've provided 20,000 laptops. I'm just using that as a generic example. You are then asking yourself, do you have the infrastructure to even cater for the so-called 20,000 laptops? Do you have teachers who are ready to use that tech thing to train the pupils?
We need to put it into the context of Nigeria, think about the sustainability of it, and change our strategy. I mean, that is key. So the question shouldn't be, is Nigeria ready? This is how we want to make Nigeria ready to have this infrastructure.
Our responsibility is to make sure that all our children, all 20-something million of our children, have basic digital skills. Our children should not be surprised as to what a computer is. Our children should be able to turn it on, turn it off, use a calculator, figure out where google.com is, use Microsoft Word and Microsoft Excel. It is not beyond them, they're ready for it. The reason why it is urgent is because of AI.
From the summit, one thing is clear, which is that collaboration is key. By working together, governments, non-governmental organizations, tech innovators can create sustainable solutions to the out-of-school children crisis.
And finally on the program, the 2024 ski season has opened in Germany's highest mountain. Skiers couldn't contain their joy as the opening marks the start of a splendid holiday season. One skier said he's been looking forward to the day all summer and there's nothing better. Officials said the approximately 50 centimeters of snow on the slopes are mostly from reserves kept from snowfall in spring. For some skiers, it doesn't really matter, though, where the snow comes from, as long as one can have a great time and ski away. Let the season begin. Well, that's our show today. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Joker Rogers. Bye for now.